Sir Keir Starmer's political future hangs by a thread. What should have been a triumphant period of building momentum for his Labour leadership has devolved into chaos, leaving him battered by a perfect storm of scandal, criticism and controversy. On one side, Donald Trump has fired a political missile from across the Atlantic, blasting Starmer's energy policies and painting him as unfit to lead Britain in uncertain times. On the other, Nigel Farage has reignited a deeply painful chapter of the country's history, accusing Starmer of negligence during his time as Director of Public Prosecutions. And through it all, a deeply disillusioned British public is watching, wondering whether Starmer can emerge from this unrelenting onslaught unscathed, or if he's doomed to become just another casualty in Britain's ever-volatile political drama. The unravelling began with a furious post from Donald Trump on his Truth Social platform. With his characteristic bombast, the president-elect lashed out at Britain's decision to prioritise renewable energy and impose a steep windfall tax on North Sea oil producers. "The UK is making a very big mistake," Trump declared, urging Britain to open up the North Sea and get rid of windmills. It wasn't just a policy critique, it was a shot aimed squarely at Starmer, whose Labour government has tied its identity to a vision of a green energy revolution. Trump, as always, was unapologetically direct and devastatingly effective in sparking a firestorm. Trump's attack couldn't have come at a worse time. Britain's North Sea oil production has been in steady decline for decades, falling from a peak of 4.4 million barrels of oil equivalent per day at the start of the millennium to just 1.3 million today. Energy giants like ExxonMobil and APA Corp are abandoning the region, citing diminishing returns and high taxation as barriers to continued investment. Labour's decision to raise the windfall tax from 35% to 38% last October, a move meant to fund renewable energy projects, has been criticised as short-sighted, leaving Britain vulnerable to energy shortages. For Trump, this was an opportunity to undermine Starmer's credibility, and he seized it with glee. But it wasn't just Trump who saw weakness in Starmer's position. Enter Nigel Farage, Britain's perennial political provocateur, who wasted no time capitalising on the controversy to launch his own crusade. While Trump's comments focused on energy, Farage turned the spotlight onto an entirely different and far more explosive issue: the grooming gang scandal. The grooming gang crisis has long been a source of national shame, exposing systemic failures in policing, social services, and local councils. Between 1997 and 2013, thousands of young girls across England were subjected to unspeakable abuse, with authorities accused of ignoring the problem to avoid inflaming community tensions. Now, Farage is demanding answers, not just from the government, but from Starmer himself, who served as Director of Public Prosecutions during this period. Farage's message is clear: if there's going to be accountability, Starmer cannot escape scrutiny. Farage's call for a national inquiry has struck a chord with a public increasingly frustrated by perceived cover-ups and political stonewalling. Reform UK, the party Farage leads, has pledged to launch a full independent investigation if elected. Farage's fiery speeches have accused both Labour and the Conservatives of failing the victims, claiming that political leaders are more concerned with votes than justice. His rhetoric is cutting, his accusations are personal, and his timing is perfect. With Starmer already reeling from Trump's energy critiques, Farage has managed to land a blow that cuts even deeper. Starmer's predicament has been made worse by Labour's own handling of the grooming gang scandal. Jess Phillips, Labour's safeguarding minister, recently rejected calls for a national inquiry, stating that such matters should be left to local councils. Her decision has outraged victims' advocates and emboldened Farage, who has used her stance as evidence that Labour is unwilling to confront the full extent of the crisis. Reform UK chairman Zia Youssef called the rejection disgraceful, while Farage accused Labour of prioritising political expediency over justice for the victims. While Starmer battles to contain the fallout, Farage has taken his campaign to new theatrical heights. At a recent Reform UK conference, he challenged Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch over her claim that Reform's membership numbers were fabricated. In true Farage fashion, he interrupted his speech to display a live membership counter, which allegedly showed the party surpassing 170,000 members. "Kemi, are you watching?" he sneered into the camera, vowing to target her North West Essex seat in the next general election. His taunts drew cheers from the audience and underscored his growing influence as a disruptor in British politics. Farage's feud with Badenoch, while entertaining, is symptomatic of a deeper fracture within the Conservative Party. Badenoch, who has struggled to maintain unity among her ranks, now finds herself not only battling Labour, but also facing a resurgent Reform UK. Farage's ability to galvanise support by exploiting public discontent has made him a formidable adversary, and his pledge to unseat Badenoch has only added to the Tories' woes. Meanwhile, Trump's shadow looms large over all of this. His critique of Britain's energy policies has emboldened those who view Labour's green agenda as impractical and economically damaging. Offshore wind projects, once hailed as the cornerstone of Britain's renewable energy future, are facing rising costs and technical challenges. Trump's insistence that Britain reopen the North Sea has resonated with voters who see energy security as a more pressing concern than climate goals. For Starmer, whose leadership hinges on delivering a greener, more sustainable Britain, Trump's attacks threaten to unravel his entire platform. The stakes aren't just domestic. Trump's return to the White House signals a potential shift in the special relationship between Britain and the United States. Analysts have warned that Trump's presidency could bring more public spats over policy, particularly as his unpredictable leadership style clashes with Britain's attempts to maintain global relevance post-Brexit. The muted response from Downing Street to Trump's comments suggests that both Labour and the Conservatives are wary of antagonising the mercurial president-elect. Back at home, Starmer's leadership is under fire from all sides. Reform UK MP Lee Anderson has ridiculed the Labour leader as "never hear Keir," while mocking his front bench as "Rachel from Accounts" and the no-brainer Angela Rayner. Such insults, while seemingly petty, tap into a growing narrative of dissatisfaction with Labour's leadership. Starmer's cautious, calculated approach may have helped him navigate previous challenges, but in the face of such relentless attacks, his strategy is beginning to look like indecision. As the scandals pile up, Starmer's options are dwindling. Trump's critique has painted him as weak on energy security. Farage's demands for a grooming gang inquiry have reopened old wounds, and Labour's own missteps have alienated key voter groups. Meanwhile, Farage's Reform UK continues to gain momentum, fueled by its leader's charisma and ability to weaponise public anger. The question now is whether Starmer can weather this storm, or if this is the beginning of the end for his political career. With Trump's inauguration looming and Farage's campaign gaining traction, the stakes couldn't be higher. The chaos engulfing Britain's political landscape is unprecedented, and Starmer is right at the centre of it. For now, the drama continues to escalate. Trump is unlikely to let up, Farage shows no signs of backing down, and Labour's internal divisions are becoming harder to ignore. The British public, fed up with scandals and political infighting, is watching closely, waiting to see who will rise above the chaos and who will be left in its wake. In this high-stakes game of political survival, the next move could change everything.